Hey, in the interest of helping other casters during Lel League to sort out their cast and make for a cleaner experience, I wanted to go over how I have currently set up to do the casting, and it's led to a relatively clean product. I've been able to minimize mistakes I make, like forgetting to switch scenes. So you can see there's these scenes over here on the left side of my screen. You can probably arrange your interface differently. So I've got all these different scenes. I've got my webcam if I were to want to use just a virtual webcam. Um, I've got something called standings here. I've got pre-show. Now, if I click on these, it's just you're gonna lose. You're not gonna see anything. So right now, I'm gonna click on drafts, and you're just gonna see how my drafts are set up. I do have a window, a display capture as my first thing here, so I can show the settings in here. So I'll start by kind of going through item by item how these things are, and then I'll show how I set them up, and we'll go look at the website that I use for some of these overlays. So I just use this AOE2 drafts scene right now as it's set up. I also have an in-game. This is basically just set up as a window capture or a program capture. But and then I've got a logo, my logo in the corner. But I haven't been using this in-game capture because I have to remember to switch over to it. And in the process of doing a cast, you can be quite busy. You can just forget. And I did that. I ruined several casts by just forgetting to swap. So you want it to be idiot proof because you're going to make mistakes in the under pressure of trying to manage people's comments and conversations. If you have someone co-casting with you, there can be a lot going on, and you might get it right 9 times out of 10, but there will be that one time where you just completely waste or ruin your cast, especially if you're not being attentive to comments. And that's another thing, is try and be attentive to comments. Okay, so there's a blank screen. That's not very useful. Um, Oops. Okay, that's a pre-show. That's just where I have a few pictures for what I do at the beginning. This I use for something else. So I've got a few of these different. Anyway, but that's not what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for sorry about the infinity display. Here you should try to log in. I'm lazy, so I don't. I have a secondary monitor, and I just have YouTube there, and so that's how I monitor comments. If I were to be simulcasting, or whatever you want to call it, to Twitch as well as YouTube, then I would probably want to have some sort of integration so I can see the chat. There are tools. I've installed one. I just am not using it, where you can have the chat show up on screen. That's something I'll eventually get around to, but I'm not a professional caster. I have a day job. So, what do I want to say about this? Yeah, so there's these different scenes, and I wanted to focus mostly on this drafts scene because I found it to be basically an all-around good thing. It's nice to have one or two different scenes set up for specific things, like if I want, but you can actually do most things in one scene. So this is how I have it set up. These are all the different sources I have in this scene. Right now I have, again, the secondary, it's called secondary. It's not my secondary monitor, but this is a display capture right here. If I turn it off, it goes away. This is just so you can see the settings that I'm using to generate this output that is being shown. There's kind of a lot going on here. So I've got music credit. So if I'm playing music, I want a credit. So I've been playing music from Rich Spectrum Sounds. So I've got that. I have to update that as necessary. So that's just picture. What's this? So you're not going to see when I pop up settings. Yeah. So this is the dialog box. It's just so you can adjust the settings when you right click and hit properties. There's capture age. So this is a properties. This is a window capture, I believe. There are two different captures. There's a full screen application, like a game capture, and then there's window capture. And capture age works better with window capture. In fact, let me add a capture. Yeah, it's gonna be, there's application audio, there is display capture, there's game capture, but game capture used to work with capture age for me. It no longer works. So window capture is the correct way to capture age. So I have capture age is actually normally I would have like this secondary source here that I have that I'm just using to display a section of OBS. That's normally off. And then I just have capture age as the first source here, because when capture age is running, it takes over the display. That way I don't forget when I go in game to start spectating a match, it automatically pops up. I don't have to remember to switch scenes over here. It just pops up capture age and I carry on. Ideally, I would put maybe like the logo, like I could take this is called the TTLC logo, but it's not a TTLC logo. That's the here, if I turn off this for a second, that is the logo for Lel League. I just haven't renamed it. but I can drag that to the top, and then it would always show up above everything. So if I do that, it's going to show up now above even OBS. So then it would show up on top of the game. It would show up on top of Capture Age. That's probably preferable. That way I always have the logo visible. Let's see here. And then I have Capture Age. Yeah, so we have Capture Age. We talked about that, right? I have standings, so I can turn this on, and that'll just show the current standings. I have to update this. This is just a photo, so I take a screenshot of current standings. Actually, let me experiment with something here. We'll experiment with it in live time. We've got post-game interviews. That's just text saying this is the post-game interview. Then I have this team 1, team 2. These are the logos for the different teams, and I can supply these to anyone who's interested in casting. I know Shoveler has access. I don't know if Saber has access. I know Ranzoon has offered to cast some games. I haven't seen much from him. He's probably too busy with other things, and that's fine. But yeah, I have these images, and I can just update them. I can just right-click on them, properties, and then right here, you can see that you can just select your different name. You can see the full Russoft documents. Yeah. Anyway, so you just select the image file and then it updates. So I select the images for each team, and then I can turn them on and off. And then below that, I've got my Russoft logo. I'm not using that. Here, then these are ones I wanted to point out. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. So the Civ draft and map draft are these overlays that you're seeing on screen. I can't point at it with my cursor because, again, I'm not actually doing a display capture. Everything you're seeing here, except for OBS, this portion of OBS is just a display, like an overlay. So they are elements that I can't, it's not up on my monitor anywhere. I have no monitor showing this, if that makes sense. This is a direct output to OBS, on OBS, generated on OBS. But you can see the map draft. I can turn that on and off. And I have the Civ draft, which can be turned on and off with this eyeball. So if I right click, and these two things come from this overlays by Zeta 2. So there's a link at the bottom there. It's github.com, Zeta 2, AOE2 streaming/tree/main/ AOE2 groups overlay. And we'll actually go take a look at that quick. Let's go text GDI properties. I'll just grab that and we'll take a look at that quickly in my browser. Let me just pull it over. And then I'll go to OBS and switch over the overlay to full secondary. Yeah, you're going to get the infinity display for a moment while I move this out of the way. All right. So this is Zeta 2, a player in Age of Empires. And there's a bunch of stuff you can download here. So they've got the instructions for how to do it. And they've got stuff that I don't even use. So they've got these brackets, tournament brackets. I'd actually like to set it up so that our tournament brackets show up. But here's where everything is. Trying to remember. Here, AOE2 CM captain's mode. This is it here. OBS. This is actually the one that I'm using. So I don't think the link was correct. So here you go. You got the instructions for how to set it up. That you can look at, import setup. So you download this JSON file, go into OBS, you do a scene collection, you import. So it explains the whole process of importing it. But in essence, it's basically just a web page text is how I'm going to describe it. I'm probably sounding like a moron because I don't really know what I'm talking about. But it basically just hits all you have to do is update the link for the draft. So if we switch back now to drafts, and I'll drag OBS back over. So the way this works is under the Civ draft and map draft, you right click on that, go properties, and then in the properties window here, this is the custom CSS that I use. In fact, I don't think I followed the instructions exactly as is. So this might be something that I need to do live with someone in person to help them out. I think I just copied and pasted this custom CSS into here, if I remember correctly. And there's stuff you can change in here, but I don't remember. I don't know. I haven't played around with it too much. Anyway, you set your width and your height. Let me see. Is that displaying? And then here's where you set the address. So you copy and paste the draft address for civs, and you'll do the same for maps. So each time someone posts into into Discord the link for the drafts, or if you go find them in captain's mode under the spectate page, you can grab these links, paste them in here, and it'll update them, and it'll actually show in live time a draft that's currently underway. It won't work if the draft has just been generated, because it's going to then pop up something being asking if you're a spectator or the guest or the host. So you want to wait until the guest and the host are actually in the draft before you try and mess with it, so that it pops up correctly. But yeah, so that's what I do. I use those. You just mess around with them. You get this set up and play around with it. Pop in some different links to see how it works, and you can resize them. Like once they're in here, you can grab your draft, and there's a bounding box around it. You can you can resize it and whatever. Anyway, and then in the background, I just have a picture. So I just overlay the draft on top of a picture. You could do some sort of animation or video file. I do have a video file that I have used. Here's coffee time. It's not coffee time anymore. I didn't rename this. I just picked a different video file. But I used to have like a steaming cup of coffee in the background that I used for one cast. But it doesn't work every time. It works more for like morning casts. So anyway, so you can put some video footage in the background. I'm still working on getting a nice video that sort of like will work on all occasions. Maybe like a fire burning in the background. Anyway, so you can do something animated. Right now I just have a photo in the background. But those are the critical elements. And that's really just having your civ draft, your map draft, image in the background. I like to credit the source for the overlays. And then the team photos, which are optional. And then I just have this capture age capture, window capture on top of everything, so that as soon as I go into the game, it automatically switches to capture age. It puts it over top of all this stuff, and I don't have to be thinking, oh, did I do everything right? And then if I want to refer back to drafts during the match, I can just make capture age invisible like this. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Again, we might have to do some interactive troubleshooting if you're interested in pursuing this method of doing casting. It's worked well for me. It's simple. It's a single scene. I still have like full secondary display if I need to show something on a web page or something. So I still have the option to switch scenes, but I don't have to rely on it. I just leave it on this one scene, and then I just work within one scene in OBS, and that works well. So anyway, there is an amateur's way of doing casting for Age of Empires 2, using some nice tools created by the community, particularly Zeta 2. And there are probably way better ways you can do things with, if you watch professional casters, it's just up from here. But at least this provides a relatively smooth experience. That is, you don't end up with tons of this, right? Oh, I got an alt tab, and now you're just capturing OBS and it looks ugly. By doing this, you don't even need a secondary monitor, although I like to have it to keep tabs on chat. So anyway, that's been enough. It's about 15 minutes here. So hopefully this was somewhat helpful. And please don't hesitate to reach out. I don't make any money doing this. I don't have any secrets to hide. I just want to help everyone to create as best they can. So anyway, thanks everyone.